Good afternoon. My name is Kirsty Dignam, and I'm here today on the 30th of June to look at the energies this week collectively and how to best navigate them. This is actually the second video that I've done, the last one being 55 minutes long. Didn't quite feel right. And when I sensed into that, and I sensed into my own insecurities with having things need to be perfect, and went through the whole process of what was actually going on for me, I decided to share the video until I went to edit it. Now, when I edit, I don't take anything out of the video. I just put it together as one formatable piece that can go onto YouTube. But I noticed halfway through the sound had been disconnected. It must have been when I moved. I knocked a wire and my microphone had been disconnected, so a large chunk of what I had to say had been removed from the equation. Ironically, the video was very much about communicating, very much about acknowledging where we are in regards to not walking our talk or talking our talk, but the messages that we are subconsciously speaking in our actions, both to ourselves and to the world around us, particularly when it comes to creating within the community. Finding out that half of the video had been removed, well, I say half, there may be a tendency to over-exaggerate this week. I don't know how much was removed actually, but enough for me to want to redo the video to clarify what I wanted to say, what I was feeling drawn to share, to say, to communicate. Having realised I need to re-record this, I've just gone to the door to pick up the mail, which feels quite poignant this week as well, particularly in regards to not only our actions and our ways of thinking and logical rationalising of things that are going on, especially when we dare to look at the perspectives we have of ourselves, but the masculine. There is a need to support that energy this week if we are to intuitively feel into how we can manifest something different. There's a lack of belief and a lack of hope when it comes to the masculine, whether that's patriarchy, whether that's how we've always done things ourselves, whether that's particularly dogma and religion, may come under the light this week. There's a lack of connection there. We will only ever see things through our own perspective. So really looking at things that may come back up this week that feel as if they're the same, and honouring that reflection within us. What stories have we bought into? What wounds have we allowed to narrate where we're at? So I go to the door this morning and I pick up the mail, quite literally. I've been doing that for the last 24 hours as well. I find a lot of males are struggling with dreams they may have, or ways of being that they want to live, or societal expectations of them, and how to break free from these molds. I go and I pick up the mail, and right outside is a van that has the words creating communities and empowering individuals, which is the exact conversation I was having with a dear friend of mine just now, which is another reason why this video is late, or I perceive late. I was living life. I was practicing what I preach, so to speak, being with those that need my support and gaining that support also, recognizing the importance of receiving as well. And how inspirational that can be if we choose to get out of our own way. How inspirational that can be if we choose to feel into what is occurring for us, what is being spoken within us when we see these things. How then united we are in a vision that goes beyond individual perspectives, but also how important it is to take charge or be charged by those individual perspectives. Recognizing ourselves as creators within creativity, acknowledging that all the time we see ourselves as separate, whether that's spirituality, whether that's each other, whether that's the earth in particular, whether that's what is going on in the world, whether that's what is happening to our neighbor or our friends. All the time we do not allow ourselves to be moved when we are moved and see that as separate from us. Just how disempowering that can be, not only to ourselves as individuals, but to any vision that we are hoping to bring forward in the future. So I go to the door, I see this van, I pick up the mail, and the other thing that I pick up is a spray from Angelic Celestial Colours. Yes, it is still called that. I say this because a long time ago I trained with Amanda Ellis and her team to do the Metatron colour therapy, and these guys were my tools. I loved them so much, and over the years it's been a while since I've connected to them. Financial reasons, physical reasons, having nowhere to store them, not using them, so obviously they would be wasted. I'm a firm believer in taking only that I need at the time. After this week, after some of the things that have happened within my own family situations, personal situations, I felt really drawn to the Michael Jackson spray that Amanda Ellis and her team create. Totally out of the blue. Was not expecting it. I was a fan of Michael Jackson. I never really, and I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of it, but I never really personally believed a lot of the things that came up about him. I'm always a firm believer of wanting to find out my own answers underneath that and to go with what my gut instinct tells me, regardless what is going on around me. And that may be seen as bypassing, but it's always been my own navigational system, and it's always worked for me, whether it's midwifery, whether it's being a mum or a daughter or a healer, whatever. That's always really worked for me. And I felt really drawn to get this spray. The way things are at the moment, it was quite a difficult choice to make, because in my mind there would be more practical things I needed to invest in. But I took the leap. I went with what I felt and got the Man in the Mirror, which says here, make that change spray. All about reflection, right? So I thought. Wow. To cut a long story short, the spray ended up being a gift from a beautiful soul that every now and then donates these sprays to individuals. Because of the circumstances I found myself in, I became the recipient of this gift intuitively by Amanda and her team. So I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for all the support that we've had as a family as well. It's been hard to receive because we're normally the front line. So this week, acknowledging where we may need to receive support in order to continue being the front line for others is really, really important. And it was something I needed to look at. For me, it was an inner child energy that came through with the Michael Jackson spray, but also acknowledging that there were big shifts that needed to occur within how I saw myself if I was to bring forth any of the visions that I've had to help others. I did the video this week, half of it was removed, and the bit that was removed was all about the vision and all about how we communicate with it. And I get to the door, and here we are with this spray. What I noticed straight away, and I don't want to make this whole video about an unpacking of merchandise, that's not what this video is about, but I will put a link to Amanda and her work and her sprays and produces in the comments. When I opened the package, it's been a long time since I've opened any of Amanda's sprays. When I opened the package, what I noticed was the beautiful box that it arrived in. This is new since I last ordered sprays. The glass is new. The way that it has been structured is new. Everything about this product has upgraded. And I share that because it is a reflection of information that's available this week, an invitation, a dare even, to expand beyond how we see ourselves, to expand beyond what we offer, to take it to the next level. I've watched Amanda's work for years, and as I say, done multiple trainings with her. And I know how hard both Amanda and her team work. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, it's there. It's in black and white. The results of hard work, the results of perseverance, of strength, of resilience, of having a vision and running with it. And this week, if we want those results, how far are we willing to look within us to find them, to really bring them forward to the forefront to be seen? None more than by ourselves. I've just noticed there's a leaflet in here, so I think it's, I was going to say just on the instructions, just on the instructions. Instructions are important, no? Yes. Yeah. Looking within the container to find the instructions. Recognizing that whilst it's beautiful on the outside, we must search for those instructions within. We must, as Michael Jackson would say, as this spray would say, look at the man in the mirror here and make that change. But acknowledging, I have to be mindful every time I move, the microphone might disconnect. Acknowledging honestly what that change is. The leveling up that is required. I'm going to look at the energies this week. I'm going to read on them. But let's just see and take a sip of my drink because I don't want to drink the spray. Cover that over. Let's just see what happens with this spray. I'm being drawn back to, gosh, that's a blast from the past. Remembering when I first started to do videos, you'll see them, one of the first videos that I ever did. Oh, I'm feeling a lot of softness and compassion there as well. One of the first videos I ever did on YouTube about the elements, and then also doing a quick reading, and I was using the spray at the time. I remember using the spray at the time, and what I'm being shown is the support that's always been there. I can feel that in my chest. I feel like a little bit of obviously a physical reaction anyway to the sprays, which is beautiful, but a clearing in my chest, like there's dust in there, a little bit like an asthma reaction there of stress and the grief that has caused. I see myself how excited and nervous and worried and uncertain I was of doing that first video, but how I still did it and showed up and enjoyed it, which is what I shared in the other video about not letting perfectionism get in the way, sharing your vulnerability. When we hold back for things to be just right, I know that Amanda and her team, you know, did these sprays from one of Amanda's rooms at one point when she first started out. And I want to say, look at them now. This week, finding some really positive influences, some positive visions to support you, to encourage you, to empower you, some positive, yes, reflections this week. They may not always feel positive. You may look at something and think, oh, well, I'd like to be da 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 da, or my situation is different. And they may cause reactions within you that make you feel a bit stifled or grief stricken, feeling into what that grief is, feeling into the invitation and the opportunity to go back to the original why and reason behind anything that you do. When we get caught up in perfectionism and how things need to be, it can often stop us from doing things. And what that does is stop us from being who we are. And then we lose sight of that. We all do it. We all forget who we are constantly. It's almost like ingrained into the web of creativity so that as a community we can empower ourselves in this remembrance. And that this week really feels quite key. By going back to why we do things, by feeling the grief we may have in the stresses and pressures that we've put on that, by surrounding ourselves with positive role models. I know people may feel uncomfortable with being a role model, but by surrounding ourselves with positive role models, by recognizing where we may feel uncomfortable being a role model also. One of the first things I noticed in the first video I was going to do was how I felt quite small in the chair. I didn't have my glasses on either, but I felt very small in the chair. I felt like a little child and I didn't have my glasses on, right? So really focusing on the perspective that we have of ourselves in a situation. Is there anything else to add on? There's some humor, there's love there, there's compassion there. There's a softness and a gentility there, but also it's not wiping my hands of a situation. It's I'm done. I'm done. I've learnt from this. I'm not a slave to the lessons. I am a master of the wisdom. I'm done. Anything else on that before I look at the energies this week? It does feel important to stick with what works for you. So I am going to look at the energies this week and how to best navigate them, and honoring why what you do is important. The reason I do that is spirituality for me, much as all of these tools are wonderful, they're an opportunity to get back to the instructions that are within us. So I look at the energies this week, but I also then look at how we can best navigate them. Because for me to build an empowered community, we have to have strong individuals within them. As we lead into 2033, yes, I went there, 2033, over the next 7 years, we're going to be seeing lots of things that have crazy opportunities, ourselves included. Incredible ways of up leveling that could change how we live our life, from technology through to finances, through to physical well-being. Obviously, there are going to be situations that need to play themselves out first, and that's going to come up this week in repetitive things that we may not have wanted to look at. There's going to be that side of the man in the mirror, of being responsible for making the changes that we need to make. However, don't put too much emphasis on action here. It's about looking at the instructions that we've been following from within. It's that needs rewiring now. Because we have lost sight of who we are. Because we have fallen victim to projections of a world that may not benefit from us standing in our power. Let's just leave it at that. It feels really, really important not to waste our energy. And I'm aware that may cause a few reactions in people. I'm not here to suggest how to best spend your life. You are. This week is a wonderful chance to redefine what that means. Okay, anything else? No. I think that's enough. I think that's enough. I think we'll put the energy of Michael to one side. Please, please, please check out Amanda Ellis or Angelic Celestial Colours. I will put the link in the comments. Particularly if you're someone that once connected to Amanda and hasn't for a while, with her sprays, they have gone up a next level. So kudos to you guys. It's evident. You've bossed it. It's evident. Congratulations. So energies this week and how to best navigate them. I'm going to use the Spellcaster's Tarot by Melanie Marquis. Why? Because it's one thing to have the energy. It's another to recognize it is what we do with it that controls the outcome. Take time this week. Don't fill in the gaps. There's no need. When we fill in gaps, it's from uncertainty. Come back to the heart space. That's one of the things that came up in the first reading. Keep coming back to the heart space for the sacred flame that it is. You know, we get attracted to a lot of things in life, but if we're not attracted to ourselves and our own potential, and why wouldn't we be? Judgments, views on how we should be, a lack of grounding, a lack of reality. I feel that right in my root chakra. A lack of love for the self, unconditional love for the self. And that's where I feel that inner child energy from the spray also, to bring it back to the child within. The beauty of it all, the awe of it all. I feel that. I feel peace with that. One of the last things I will mention, the video previously, there was a lot coming up in regards to double standards with communication, particularly in the media and in the external situations. We're going to see how it can be okay for one person to say one thing and not for another person to say another. And they both have the potential of impacting a community. We're going to see where things are going to be restricted for a particular narrative. Of course we are. And we're going to recognize that it is the restriction itself that is the incitement. And then the opportunity, the invitation is to look at where we're doing that on ourselves as well. Hierophant at the bottom of the pack. He was in the first reading. What I like about the Hierophant here is he has no face. He has no face. Okay, so he's taking the position of the Pope, of religion, of establishments, but the truth is there is no face. It is anything that we become enslaved to here. The good book, the story that we choose to follow, that we choose to bow down to, that dictates our every move, is an opportunity this week to really look, you see the eye there, really look at what is, excuse me, at what is guiding us. So I can really feel in my chest a grief, an agitation there, a almost an inability to breathe properly, to connect fully to my source. And if what we are relying on limits how we see ourselves, doesn't matter what term you give it, it's a dogma, it's control, it's restrictive. Really focusing on that this week and expanding how we choose to be of service, how we choose to create, how we choose to see things, ourselves included, as the foundation, the very learning that we are bringing forward in everything that we share. Okay, again, mindful, don't fill in the gaps. That's interesting. I'm feeling a very patient, very needed connection to Metatron. So thank you, Amanda and the team. And a remembrance of something I was shown a long time ago when playing a drum, of all things, the binary code of creation, the 1-0-1-0, the on off, and how important it is, whether it's a song that you're making or a child that you're delivering through every contraction or thought process or heartbeat, to have a resting phase. When we fill in the gaps, we don't allow room for change because we're filling in the gaps with the same. Let them be this week. When we communicate, it's important to listen also. Really, really important. If we are going to gain a greater communication here, a greater understanding. Of what? Our role in the noise. Okay. Energies this week and how to best navigate them: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Interesting. So some cards have changed, some cards haven't. Some cards have multiplied. Some cards have shown a different perspective, but underneath it all, it's the same message. We have the Ten of Pentacles here. It's about acknowledging what, so we did have the King of Pentacles, but it's about acknowledging what abundance means to us. The last few weeks, I was in Fareham Town Centre a couple of weeks ago, and there were a choir singing the song Something Inside So Strong, and I walked past and my chest just felt like it lit up from inside. This weekend we were doing a fundraiser for my cousin's funeral, and we did it in a place where there was a carnival, which I used to be part of as a child, so there was a lot of reminiscing there, a lot of nostalgia there. But when the carnival walked by, I felt this again in my chest, this deep sense of what I now know to be a yearning for community, that's an integral part of me. Again, I feel the energy coming. I felt that the first time I did the first video, I mentioned it. The moment we acknowledge what it is we're yearning for, it can come in. We need to be mindful of that microphone wobbling the screen in front of me. And on the Monday, we can be aware of that with the Ten of Pentacles. What is abundance to us? It may have changed, it may not have. It may have taken on a different form, but underneath it all may have always been the same thing. It may be being a success. It may be getting your message out there. It may be raising a family. It may be traveling the world and experiencing life. It may be all of them. It may be none of them. But what is it for you? Have that conversation with yourself, with those that you love, with those around you. Your vision, that's beautiful. I can see an Indigenous man in the wallpaper in my room, which is interesting. Your vision may need to be expanded. What does it look like abundantly? Who do you need to bring in for that? So yeah, I can see bringing in more Indigenous wisdom into my teachings. I want to say, okay, and go with that. Keep going with that. Remain open to anything that comes to you on the Monday. Ensure that you have a nice stable foundation to do it from, of course, that you're in balance and that you're stable. And then allow yourself to be expanded. Abundance is on a soul level as well. It's on a soul level as well. Seeing your own potential on the Monday in particular. On the Tuesday, we have the Eight of Cups, and there's a little bit of, we have the Eight of Cups. To go from the Ten of Pentacles to the Eight of Cups. So what is that we're feeling there? Well, it is the waxing and waning of emotions. It is the understanding that we are stacking things up. There are some stories that are playing themselves out that may bring forth things we're not that keen on seeing again because we're seeing them from where they were. The Ten of Pentacles is also the end of something, of lessons, of wisdom, of things to be shared in the way that they were shared. That comes from taking things to the next level. And when we do that, it's not a grief as such here, it's a celebration with the Eight of Cups, but it's also acknowledging that at the end of the celebration of what was comes what is to be as well. On the Wednesday, we did have the Three of Wands. We've doubled that by looking at our own reflection into the Six of Wands. So we've gone from, in the original reading, the Three of Wands was the eagle going out to see the greater perspective. Provided we do that, there's victory here in the Six of Wands. That vision has to come back to us. It has to be reflected back to us. Now, it's not about being worshipped, unless it's by yourself. Hey. But be mindful. Is somebody supporting you to be your best potential? Why are they doing it? What do they have to gain from it? And that's not about being paranoid or defensive, but honest here. Often we surround ourselves by things that we like to see. So ensuring on the Wednesday that whatever we are having reflected back to us helps us to be victorious in who we are. Okay. On the Thursday, we have the Page of Cups, which very much reminds me of the Two of Cups that came out for the original reading. The difference being here, the feminine has joined the masculine energy, but has done so from a place of almost being lower. It's almost as if, regardless of the masculine and feminine uniting, regardless of intuitive actions, they will always be dependent on how others receive them. We can give, we can align and heal, and situations can stay the same. That is not a reflection of us alone, but the situation itself. In the back of this card, we have the moon card, or a big picture of the moon, recognizing emotionally where things may not be as they seem on the Thursday. We also have, and I've been really drawn to it, so I don't know if YouTube will ban this, but we have a half-naked woman here with her breast out. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know if YouTube will ban that, but I'm going to share it anyway. I don't know if what is being conversed is going to be accepted, but I'm going to share it anyway because it's natural and beautiful and part of being a physical representation of the feminine. On the Thursday, that feels really, really important if we are to rise from any judgments we may find ourselves in. It's interesting because the Hierophant did come up in the original video, but the other major arcana other than the Sun was the Devil card. Here we have Judgment. Sharing what is a beautiful physical representation of the feminine, regardless of how it is received, is going to bring forth on the Friday Judgment as an invitation to rise above it, our own included, particularly when it comes to what we create. So this was the emphasis of the first video, and I keep bringing up the first video because we may find this week we keep bringing up a situation that still has wisdom within it. Now, it's not about letting that wisdom override everything like the Hierophant, but about acknowledging that it's not quite finished yet. It's not quite completed the process of what it wanted to create. Why? Because we may still have judgments or views and opinions on that, or others may. Feeling into what is rising within you, particularly on the Friday, it's really important to work with those emotions. It's not about controlling them or placating them. We get very caught up in self-regulation and balance and harmony without forgetting that in order to be in balance, we have to acknowledge when we're not. That this is a wonderful opportunity to strengthen our core, like those vibrational plates, those wobble boards, acknowledging and recognizing the wisdom that we have got that is a strong foundation. Anything that questions that wobbles that is purely an opportunity to come back to the strength of who we are, not just on a physical level with our muscles, but on a soul level with what is at the core of our being. It's that that's being called out. Now, that may come out in a defensive manner. It may come out as a result of pain or circumstances that have occurred around us. However, it has to come out of us too. It has to come out in our actions also, allowing space for that on the Friday. That sacred flame, that sacred calling, that burning fire within us. Then on the Saturday, we have the Three of Cups. I was going to bring up the Two of Cups and the Page of Cups, but it feels like this celebration, this deliverance, this birth actually needs to be separate from all the rest. So all the beginning of the week, yes, we may emphasize things that we've gone through in order to regain structure, not control. Be mindful. It's not about manipulating the energies or the situation, but it's about regaining structure. So, you know, you can look back with nostalgia of how far you've come and reclaim your whys. However, it's not about stopping there. Take them to the next level. Also, the potential on the Saturday is new, provided we let it be new. Yes, of course, we've all shed blood and tears and sweat to get where we are, and there's a little bit of that, but let that go. Concentrate on what it is you are actually celebrating now. Is there anything else to add on that? Let it lift you up. Let it bring you joy. Surrender to yourself. It's not about placating. It's not about numbing. It's not about, I hear, inebriation. It's not about switching off or disassociating. Life is not about that. It's about experiencing it all. And that can be difficult sometimes, but it can be fucking awesome as well. It's based on where we're at. It's not about picking one or the other, but expanding so you can hold space for all of it. On the Sunday, we have the Four of Wands. Is there anything else to add to the Four of Wands? Because this card actually came up in the other reading. The Hierophant came up when I'd finished the reading, but the Four of Wands is the only card that came up as it is in the reading that repeated itself. The unions, the foundations, the beliefs, the hopes, the dreams that keep us going, that keep us strong, that at times can keep us bound. As we lead into the Lion's Gate in July, really feeling into, there was a lot of serious energy that came in the last video in regards to communication, but also our heart and the Lion's Gate energy. But don't run before you can walk. Feeling into what you're connecting to first before you bring in anything new. Do your dreams and your hopes unite you with yourself or bind you to the reflection of another? So, 37 minutes. We have one major arcana, well, two major arcanas, the Hierophant, Temperance underneath it all. So Temperance was there in the original reading also, and that feels important to mention, the importance of, the importance, let's not get away from the fact that it's important, of everyday life, of small steps, of chop wood, carry water, of not being inundated by the vision. And I feel that my root chakra really grounding into where we are and what is needed in each moment, of recognizing it's not about escaping this life, that the 3D is really, really actually very valid and important, that spirituality is only a concept. Our dreams, our visions, our hopes are only ever ideas without actions, that those actions come from physicality. I'm being reminded to plug myself again, which I did in the last video, which is very uncomfortable for me because I have judgments on that, right? So practicing what we preach, walking our talk, but recognizing where we may be stopping that in the conversations that we do or do not have with ourselves and those around us. So in the next few weeks, apparently it was a few months, the last video, but it's a few weeks now, I'm going to be putting on community-based events that help us reconnect to our creativity, that help us recognize that creativity and spirituality are one and the same, and that so too is life, so that we can, when we are doing our gardening, acknowledge that there is a potential there to plant new seeds, not just for our garden, but our mindset, our healing, anything that we want to bring in, really bringing magic into the everyday existence. That's going to be in a few weeks for us all collectively, but individually I'm going to be offering that as well. And that's the other thing that was shared in the first video, acknowledging that the vision itself is the community. Whatever we're trying to achieve is the community that we can connect to, but that we must have agency for our own individual needs and responsibilities within that. as we lead into 2033, it's never been more important, the instructions from within, right? To acknowledge how valid we are within the collaboration of anything that we're trying to create. We can really focus on what it is we're trying to bring forth or manifest. And when we do that, we lose sight of ourselves in the process of being creators. Don't forget that. My son, I adore him, obviously, loves computers, and often smiles at me when I don't understand them and the technology. However, never forget the power of the brain and the messages that have to go down your spine to your fingertip to turn that computer on. Never forget yourself in the place of technology, in the place of all the advancements we're going to see. This spray is beautiful. The glass bottle is beautiful. The smell is beautiful. The crystals are beautiful. The water is beautiful. The box that it came in is beautiful. The instructions are gorgeous. The delivery method was beautiful. It wouldn't be possible without Amanda and her team. Don't forget. Don't forget your place in whatever it is you are manifesting. When we do lack that remembrance, we no longer see ourselves, and anything that we're trying to bring in can often feel too big, unrelatable, not worthy, or we're not worthy, however you want to see that, and they remain merely an idea or a conception that never reaches full gestation. So this week, finding energies that will support you to see who you are and what you're capable of is going to be key. So 3 major arcanas: Temperance, Hierophant, and Judgment. Really looking at any stories that have separated us from our spirituality, from our reflection, from our power, from our greatness, from our light, from our fire, from our, in the Judgment card here, she's rising from a cauldron of the triple goddess, from our ability to bring forth what it is we know we are capable of. Let the magic call you out this week. But first acknowledge you're the one holding the wand, right? Okay, so we have one pentacle card, which is the 10 of Pentacles. And before we had the 10 of Cups in the reading, we had to acknowledge that it was emotional fulfillment that brought forth abundance. This one, when we do that, it's about what we can harvest now. Once we are in fulfillment and balance of our emotional maturity, our emotional intelligence, that's when the physical riches come into play. Doesn't matter how much money we've got, doesn't matter how big our house is or how many cars we've got or how many people in our social circle, how many likes, or how successful we are or how connected we are in our relationships. If we are not emotionally fulfilled, if we are not united to all aspects of ourselves and able to accept who we are, it'll always be restrictive. We'll always have that yearning for something more, but it's not about something more outside of us. It's from within. We then have 3 cup cards. So any physical, creative birth this week comes from our emotions. I'm going to say it. Please, please, please look at any relationships that you have, either with substances or people or situations that may not quite be that healthy, that may prevent you from receiving what is being offered to you on another level. You can be vulnerable to receive. I've been very vulnerable receiving the assistance that we needed this week. I'm not used to that. However, not in I'm not used to that. I'm just not used to that. I've always done it myself, but that's an old story that doesn't bode well for community. You can't have one person within a community. It's that no man is an island. Really acknowledging that this week and ensuring that you receive, again, I feel a massive energy coming in. You receive what is being gifted to you, the support that is being gifted to you in order to create whatever it is you're trying to create. The vision is beyond the individual. Said it last week, said it in the blog, we'll keep on saying it. It's not about one person saving the world here. It's about connecting to who we are, being who we are, and allowing those changes to unfold in front of us. We then have the Eight of Cups card, and next to it, the Three of Cups. We know that in order to bring in something, we have to let go of something. How open are we to that? What do we need to hold space for that? Is there anything else to add with that? Other than surrendering, other than celebrating, other than acknowledging, and I can take this on board myself, where grief isn't enough. Shadow work, darkness, wounds, healing, light, what we perceive as light or light workers, in the way that it's been seen emotionally, isn't enough. Our emotions are our psychic energy as well, and if we refuse to feel them on a collective, including, especially here, the joy, we're going to seek that externally. We're going to have that extra glass of wine. We're going to have, and I've got nothing against that, we're going to have that plant medicine. We're going to have that extra cream cake. Find that joy within you. Allow yourself to receive that side of things as well this week, because the work alone, the calling alone, the struggles alone aren't enough to inspire something different. We then have two wand cards here. The fight isn't enough to inspire something different. We then have two wand cards here, the Four of Wands and the Six of Wands. Look at the relationships around us and within us to acknowledge what we're connecting to and whether or not that supports us to be the best version of ourselves. There's a real difference between blowing smoke up our ass and acknowledging how far we've come. There's a real difference between empowerment and pandering this week. Okay, so I'm going to pull one card and do one spray. Which will I do first? I keep being drawn to the words on the back of the box that says, do not use in epilepsy. That feels really poignant, to not use anything that doesn't fit with you anymore. To be open to returning back to how things may have worked for you, but to not get lost in things that no longer fit for you. We can acknowledge things that bring up a nostalgia or that help us to remember who we are, but it doesn't mean that we have to stay there. You know, it has to fit. If it doesn't fit, now why I'm being drawn to epilepsy, let's feel into this. Okay. Oh God. Oh, the inner child energy. So when I was a child, what a lot of people don't realise is when I was a child, I used to have something called petty mouths. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of what was going on around me in order for me to have to shut off. But there would be times when I couldn't cope with my emotions and the emotions of those around me. So I would leave my body, I would pass out, I would fit. And what happens there is the neurological pathways in my brain wouldn't quite fire properly. It's a form of epilepsy, but it's not quite the whole shebang. It stopped. It stopped on its own when I took charge of what I was able to be around, which is an interesting thing to do as a child. But recognizing that the emotions that we feel, even if they come across as childlike, what they are saying to us is we don't fit in that situation, that we don't actually belong there. And by ignoring them, what we're doing is ignoring our understanding of the brain, or ignoring our understanding of what forms our reality and the role that we have within that. We are shutting off this emotional wisdom, but that emotional wisdom has the power to change the outcome and our environment. So we're shutting off our potential every time we shut off what it is we feel. Yes, it needs to be safe. Like me with the petty mouths, the environment needs to be safe, and we may find ourselves disassociating until we are safe. However, it is our responsibility to acknowledge that regardless what we've gone through as a species, every time we don't connect to this intuitive, innate nature that is within us, or we question where something is going, which I'm doing at the moment as these words are coming through, every time we do that, not only are we losing our potential, not only are we losing our vastness, we are molding our understanding. We are, I hate to say it, and I'm feeling quite resistant to saying it, but we are abusing ourself. Now, the abused brain, the traumatic brain, doesn't work to its greatest capacity. This week, whatever happens, whatever you're feeling is an opportunity to rewire your understanding of yourself. Find a safe environment to do so. Find a place where you can be supported in that so that you can regain your own perspective, not only of what's going on around you, but who you are within that community also. Okay, thanks, Michael. You know, Michael Jackson, yeah, a man that was, again, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs, but many, many projections on who he was. How confusing that must have been. How confusing it is for us all when we are inspired or encouraged or egged on to be a certain way, to fit in, to be safe, to be a success, to be liked, to be in a relationship. You know, standing ground and being who we are is often the bravest thing we can do. It doesn't mean that it's easy, and it can be confusing. It can really disorientate us depending on the reflections we choose to focus on. We have the Queen of Cups here. This is an opportunity to really nurture our emotions and be nurtured. Because like the whole pack is falling apart. What happens when I am actually who I am? What happens to the pack? What happens to the community? What happens when X, Y, and Z? Nurture our emotions. Allow our emotions to nurture us this week. Really feeling into the growth that has occurred, the wisdom that has been gained, the love that is there in the role of the mother, regardless of gender. We all create, we all conceive, we all gestate, we all deliver whatever it is we're trying to bring forward. In the role of the mother, the more we can reconnect to that, the more we can reconnect to Pachamama, the more we can reconnect to the feminine, the more we can reconnect to the cosmic womb, the more we connect to a greater container that can hold our vision and our dreams. We're not on our own, but it is about recognizing our expansion so that we can then see the vastness of the energy that is available to connect into. It's next level stuff. I felt like there needed to be more, so be mindful of that this week. And what I got was the Five of Cups. You know, all this blood that's been spilled, all this connection that has been thrown away because we feel like there needs to be more because we're not quite certain. You know, when you eat something, yeah, there's a difference between being fulfilled and overstuffed. That whether that's food, overindulgence, whether that's food, insights, guidance, relationships, it's okay to feel a certain amount of hunger still. Hunger doesn't mean that you're not fulfilled. It means that you have potential. So, you know, when you're eating, they say it's okay to feel a little bit hungry after a meal. It's okay to still yearn for something. It's okay not to know. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to be in awe and to be open. This hunger, these emotions, this uncertainty is an invitation to open ourselves up to what we need to feel. The answers are in there. The instructions are inside. We just need to take ourselves out of the box. Take care. Have the most incredible week, and I'll see you next week.